Again, if you are a fan of golf, and even if you are not, Tiger Woods live tonight on ESPN, TGL Final, 7 o'clock Eastern. Don't miss it. Okay, now I promised you 10 minutes for this conversation because it got cut short earlier. Field Yates has a mock draft out this morning. Here are the top 10 picks as he sees them. No surprise at the top, Fernando Mendoza, number 1. You got the edge rushers. We got a run on Ohio State players that seems never to want to end. And we've got Mansour Delane, not pictured. The second quarterback that he has coming off the board is Ty Simpson at number 26. He has him going to Arizona and a potential trade back. So I've got Field Yates this morning, and I've got Tim Hasselbeck, and I've got Mel Kiper. So, Field, tell me why we see Ty Simpson in your vision of this thing at this stage going as late in round 1 as you do. I feel like some of the conventional wisdom has been that he's getting pushed up these boards. Why do you have him 26?
I would say at this point of the process, Greeny, I'm not sure how much a quarterback like Ty Simpson is moving up or moving down. The reality is at quarterback, teams are going to be invested in 1 to 3 players total at the position, right? And when you have a guy who's a franchise no-doubter, it's really just 1. How many teams are actually in the quarterback market in the first round this year? Maybe Cleveland, who has 6 and 24. Maybe the Jets, who have 2 and 16, but they also have 3 first-round picks next year. Maybe Pittsburgh, but also Aaron Rodgers could return for this 2026 season, at which point they will be out of the early quarterback market. Arizona, though, is a team that, to me, clearly and obviously still needs to upgrade a quarterback this offseason. The 3rd overall pick in the draft, to me, is too rich to take Ty Simpson, but a team that has enough flexibility to get back into the end of the first round, it would remind me of what the Giants were able to accomplish last year in getting Abdul Carter and also Jackson Dart.
Okay, so yesterday we got, as a show, a lot of attention. Our buddy Dan Orlovsky got a lot of attention for saying here on Get Up that having gone through the tape that he believes Ty Simpson is the best quarterback in this class, not Fernando Mendoza. And, of course, everyone reacts as they are occasionally prone to do. And our Mike Tannenbaum saw that tweet from our handle, and he quote tweeted it in writing, "In talking to clubs, this opinion is shared by other teams as well." So he's suggesting that there are teams in the NFL who might like Ty Simpson better than Fernando Mendoza. Mel, when you hear that, what is your reaction?
Well, surprise. Everybody talks to different people. I have not heard that from anybody. And you go compare and contrast these two quarterbacks. And I like Ty. He's 25 on my board. Fernando Mendoza is number 1 on my board. Why? Think about it. 4 inches taller nearly, 25 pounds heavier, 72% to 64%, 7 touchdowns to 2 rushing touchdowns. Then you factor in the 35 starts to 15 starts, right? Guess what? Fernando Mendoza is a year younger than Ty Simpson, who's 23. Fernando's 22. Go to the most important games, 3 playoff games. Fernando Mendoza, 8 touchdown passes, 0 picks, 1 rushing touchdown as well. Ty Simpson, over a 5-game stretch, 5 straight games, had a fumble loss, then in the playoff game, hit by D'Angelo Pons, crack rib, fumble loss. That pocket of awareness, that ball security, when it gets crowded in that pocket. And you see that in the NFL on a regular basis. That's when you cannot turn it over. Ty had issues in 5 straight games, then the playoff game in that regard. Fernando Mendoza did not. He cut down that sack total dramatically from Cal to Indiana. He was at 69% at Cal. He benefited from those extra 16 starts to get to 35. When Ty only has 15, which is a risky, dangerous number. I'm okay with Ty in the latter half of the first, even the mid-first, where a Mac Jones comp is real. Who are we comparing to Fernando Mendoza? Matt Ryan, Peyton Manning. Who are we comparing to Ty Simpson? Mac Jones. Figure that out.
Okay, so that's your perspective, and I think it is the most common perspective. In fact, it's the only perspective that I've heard so far. So we gave Tim Hasselbeck, we gave you a little bit of a homework assignment. We asked you to look at some tapes, and if you were sort of presenting the cases for these guys, how would you do it? How would you present the cases between Fernando Mendoza and Ty Simpson?
Well, yeah, I mean, what I would say is, look, they're both good prospects, but I do think that there's a pretty significant difference between the two, and that's why I would agree with everything that Mel said. Look, Ty Simpson, like, there's a lot when you watch Alabama's offense that you can say I like about him. First off, this creation of plays. I think he is a better athlete than you would perceive him to be, and so his ability to make plays outside of the design of the offense was very impressive. but also when you watch Alabama on offense, you see him, play under center. You see him turn his back to the defense. You see him do things that definitely translate to things that you see in every single NFL offense. So in this regard, I think you can say, but maybe that is something that Simpson does better than Mendoza. However, when you look at Mendoza, everything Mel said is true. And then I think one of the areas he really separates himself is the accuracy is elite. And then when you see him pass from inside the pocket, the ball placement, not just throwing it to the open guy, but where the ball is placed to the guy he is throwing the ball to, I think is at a different level than most prospects coming out of college. And I think when you look at that, in my opinion, decision making and then accuracy are the two most important things when you look at evaluating a quarterback. In those areas, I think Mendoza is significantly better. Then you do the stuff that Mel is talking about in terms of size, sample size of what he's done as a player, what he did to that program. Talk about him in critical moments. Go look at the end of the Iowa game. Go look at the end of the Penn State game. Go look at the end of the Miami game. Mendoza is a really, really good prospect. And so I think, Ty Simpson, yeah, there's some good stuff, but man, there's also some stuff that would make you a little uneasy. And the sample size, you start to get in the realm of Anthony Richardson sample size, Mark Sanchez sample size. That would make me nervous. And Trey Lance sample size in any quarterback evaluation.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Ty Simpson he's inexperienced, but he's not young. He's been there a long time. He backed up Bryce Young at Alabama. He's been there that long. He's 23, will turn 24 in December. Field, pick it up from here.
Yeah, so I think that Fernando Mendoza's case is well-rooted, and you guys have touched on a lot of those things. But one of the traits that I think is perhaps underrated or not discussed enough is the toughness from Fernando Mendoza. I get it that Indiana was a great team that went 16-0, but there were some games in which they had to grind things out. Early in the season, Tim was just talking about that Iowa game. That Iowa defense is always going to bring it. Fernando had a throw down the right sideline that's one of the most watched throws during the pre-draft process for me. That Penn State throw to Omar Cooper. Better catch than throw, but still the clutch production for Fernando Mendoza to me is something that I will always think back upon. In 6 games against teams that were ranked in the top 10 at the time that Indiana played them this past season, Fernando Mendoza threw 15 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions, and he completed over 85% of his passes. That's right, 85% in 3 of those 6 games. The Miami run, the game-winning touchdown run, to me is the definition of clutch production. I like the way that Fernando met the moment for an entire season. And I get it. Indiana is now viewed, rightfully so, as a dominant college football program. I don't think the supporting cast that Fernando Mendoza had in terms of players on the field is that much different than the one that Ty Simpson had at Alabama. He's got a first-round left tackle, 2 other draftable offensive linemen, a draftable tight end and running back. He's got a draftable wide receiver. Alabama had some real dudes there. Indiana had good players as well, but Fernando was the difference between one team being the champ and one team making the quarterfinals.
So we're talking at great length here about Ty Simpson. Let's talk about Mendoza. Mel, we've seen so many, and we're going to continue to see so many quarterbacks going at the very tops of drafts. The premium nature of the position has just put us in that place where if there's a quarterback you could even remotely justify taking at the top, people are going to do it. How does Mendoza stack up against some of the others, in your view, Mel, that have gone at the tops, or near the tops of recent drafts?
Yeah, he's not going to have that John Elway 9.9 grade, but he's probably around a 9.7 for me, which puts him in that line with where Matt Ryan was, who had a very high grade. So for me, when you think about how he does, and Tim played the position and knows this very well, how do you do late in a play? And late in plays at Indiana, when things were breaking down, rolling left, rolling right, slip sliding in the pocket, and then finding that late option or throwing it away, decision-making late in plays was spectacular for Fernando Mendoza. Remember, he was going to go to Yale. Okay, he ends up at Cal. This is a smart kid. Talking about Ty Simpson. Is he the processor Bryce Young was coming out? No. What Ty is, he's super competitive, ultra competitive, and sometimes he doesn't know when to just let a play go. Okay, he'll force some things late and hold on to the ball a little too long. So for me, Mendoza's ready. And remember, in the NFL, you got to play at a consistently high level week in and week out, or you're going to be destroyed by everybody. Mendoza's more prepared for that. Ty needs to sit, watch, and learn for at least 1 year.
Tim, he's got all the experience. He's got the computer-like mind is the way that I heard it described. Mm-hmm. Do you think he's ready to step right in and be, I don't want to say a great player in the NFL immediately because he'll be a rookie on probably a bad team. But are you with all those who say Mendoza is a star waiting to happen?
Yeah, draft him and play him. I do think so, and I do think, his intelligence, and also, look, you can be smart and not see the game great. I think it's evident that he sees it well. When there's a protection issue, he sees it. When there's, a disguised coverage, he's not fooled by it. He does a good job of seeing it from inside the pocket. Some of that is his stature, I think, lends to that. So I do think he's going to be a very good pro. Every quarterback is impacted by the situation they go into. And look, the concerns I have in some ways are, just the offense that he played in was a spread RPO offense. And so, the majority of the stuff that he will do in the NFL is not going to be exactly like what he did at Indiana. So there will be some adjustment to that, but there's just so much evidence of him seeing it well, processing it well, and then physically being able to do it, and then handling it in big moments. I just think he's got the makeup to be a very good player.
Again, Fields mock is available right now. He has Mendoza going number 1, and he has Ty Simpson going number 26.